We're live?
Tell me you're ready.
All right. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in Merrick, New York. And today, I'm not by myself. I actually have a guest. You don't get to hear my voice only today. You get to hear somebody else ramble and rant about something related to real estate. Today, we're with Mike Natter. Mike Natter from Movement Mortgage. And some of you might actually know Mike from his playbooks. Magic Mike.
That's it.
Yeah. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm always happy to have you. As everybody knows, this is not Mike's first rodeo with us. He's been on here before with us.
Yeah, we did the Halloween show.
We did the Halloween. That's what I was racking my brains. What was that show? Was it the Halloween show?
Yeah.
Was it? But it was some kind of special event show,
Yeah.
and we were talking about all kinds of things about spooky houses
Yeah.
and all that. I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
We didn't do it this year. I think
COVID.
COVID. Everything in the name. Everything in the name of COVID.
Yeah.
We got COVID here, COVID there, and everything has changed and put us upside down. So I'm glad that we got the opportunity to actually have somebody live in studio. We've had some people that via streaming. We've had some people through other ways of getting on, Zoom, Streamlab. Like I said, we're getting sophisticated. We're actually getting super sophisticated these days with our technology. I'm going to put on the Streamlab link, live link onto the chat in case anybody wants to jump in. Now I'm going to be very selective of who's going to jump in. Now you Salvatore guy that was on here last time, I'm not going to let you get on there. But I'll try to be as selective as possible. If we find a hostile, we'll just kick them off. And that's it. And the same thing will apply to the radio people as well. The number here is 516-623-1240. 516-623-1240. And you can call in live. Trevor will interrogate you. And if you don't sound hostile, he'll let you on, maybe. Depending on the mood he's in. You're in a good mood today, Trevor?
Kind of.
He's smiling.
You're just in a kind of good mood?
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a kind of good mood from Trevor. That means he's going to take care of us. He cleaned the microphones, disinfected the whole place.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that. No Ebola for anybody today. We'll be in good shape. But as I said before, we got the links already in the chat. And why do we have Mike on today? Why is Mike? Why are you here today?
You asked me to be
Is it just because I like talking to you, which I do? Is it because we're going to have a conversation about nonsense? Is it going to be just another one of these guy chats and shows? No. We're going to talk about mortgages and interest rates today.
And real estate in general.
Real estate in general. But more importantly, interest rates, because that's been the hot topic than anything else.
Yep.
Everybody's been freaking out.
Yep.
Completely freaking out. I've been going to bed every night saying, serenity now, serenity now. Where are we today? Where are the rates today?
I do work for a bank. And I have a disclosure they forced me to read.
Hold on a second.
Right, so,
I apologize about that.
Right.
I know that we have to get into this disclosure. Please read the disclosure.
All right, this is the first time reading this too. So my name is Mike Natter. My NMLS number is 413831. Movement Mortgage LLC supports equal housing opportunities. Their NMLS is 39179. I hope you're writing this down. For licensing information, please visit www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org.
Wait. Before you wrinkle that completely up, wait, do you have another disclaimer with you?
No, that's for the end.
Oh, that's for the end.
Yeah, well, we can hold it up now.
All right. Let's do that. Let's
there you
go. Let me because I could see live right now. Look at this. Read this, people.
Yeah, hit pause and soak it all up.
Soak it all up. This is our government at its greatest with these disclosures.
Got to do them now.
Got to do them.
All right.
That's how it works. What are the rates today?
Now we can rock and roll. So
What are the rates today?
it's actually kind of a loaded question because I get the call all the time. What are the rates today? And the reality is there's a whole range. There's 40 variables of rates that are out there depending on the type of property, your credit score, down payment, one family home, two family home. So there's a huge range. So they could be still in the fours for some folks and all the way up into the high fives for some folks. And we're locking in a huge range depending on the type of transaction.
So, what are the rates for a conventional loan for somebody that is getting 720 credit
The
score?
simple answer is they're hovering around 5
That's
if you
what I
have
wanted to
decent
hear.
credit and your normal plain vanilla loan.
Yeah.
I think I just saw something today in the news that the average national rate is 5.25. But again, it depends on multiple variables, your credit score, down payment, things like that.
Yes.
Right. And then folks do have an opportunity to buy down the rate. You know, it's a long-term bet most of the time, but people are doing that. A lot more people are doing that because
I would do it.
It's with rates still. I mean, rates are still great. They're normal rates right now.
There's nothing wrong with the rates right
No.
now. It's just a little bit of a punch to the face for the people that were hovering around that 3% not that long ago.
2%, upper twos.
Let's just say 3% for a lot of the people that were, because I have specific people that were actually hovering and tell me, I'm going to wait. I'm like,
Yeah.
You want to lock in your rate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wait. And then boom, 4.
And you know what? Some of those folks who are waiting, they went up so quick, you didn't even have time to
They
recover from that.
couldn't
You're
even
done. You
blink.
lost
I
your
got people
opportunity.
that got lost in the shuffle that didn't lock in their rates,
Mm-hmm.
that they went to 4 before a blink of an eye. They said, okay, it's going to come back down. No, it came back up. And you can't be, I say this all the time, you can't be a fortune teller. You can't take a crystal ball and say, well, I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen. Unless you're seeing the apocalypse happening all around you and you know things are only going to drop around you, more than likely things are going to go back up.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
You know who gets it all the time too? Rate shoppers, because they will call me, and then we'll always encourage someone to shop around. But a week and a half later, by the time they're calling every bank in the country, they just lost out because rates went up 0.25%. So everyone gets affected when they
You
shoot
get that
up this
often?
fast.
You get people that are just calling you up just to check out the rates?
You know, I do a lot of work with existing clients. I've been doing this 20 years, so I don't deal with a lot of rate shoppers because these are people I've done business with in the past. Plus, we're a national bank. I mean, every national bank's going to be within a fraction of each other. It's not, it's you're not going to find one place that's a miracle rate. So, but yeah, people shop.
See, this is something that we tapped into. Like, I saw you a little bit standoffish to give me an exact rate on where we're at today. And this is a question I wanted to ask you because something I've been following. There are significant differences in the rates in consideration to the credit scores and that kind of thing. Are there products out there for people with lower credit scores that
Absolutely.
they could get somewhat of a decent rate?
We'll go into the 500s, my bank, on an FHA loan, but they're going to be at the top tier of that rate range. You know, you're not going to get the best rates no matter what program you do. If your credit is poor, you're not going to get the best rates.
So what's the worst case scenario that somebody in their 500s could get a loan at?
Right now, I mean, they're like in the upper fives with some points.
Which is not horrible.
No, it's not horrible.
That's not horrible. I mean, if they're paying roughly a point over what the average rate is on a decent credit score, and then a couple points on top of it,
No, not even a couple,
point or two,
Yeah.
that's not horrible. You could still get a loan.
You could still get a loan, yes.
Does that apply for only homes that people purchase to live in, or is it for investment properties as well?
So what's interesting, so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they are the two organizations that buy up most of the loans from the banks. No matter what bank you go to, Fannie and Freddie, they're the big names, right? So over the summer, I believe it was, they put out a bulletin saying they are raising rates on investment homes and second family homes by a lot, like sometimes by 2%. So the whole industry is kind of in an uproar.
Which would make sense, kind of, right?
Well, here's why. This is what I was told, and I don't know. This is what I was told when I asked about it. I was told the reason they did that was because it's so hard right now for first-time buyers to get housing, right? There's bidding wars going on and everyone's paying over asking. So they wanted to drive away the investors to free up more houses for the first-time buyers. So when you think about it that way, it makes total sense. And that's where we're at right now. So anyone doing a vacation home and an investment property, if you don't put a large down payment, you're paying a premium in rates right now.
So
nationwide.
On a two-family home, does that include the people that are going to be owner-occupying it?
No,
as
that's
well?
still considered owner-occupied.
It's still considered owner-occupying. All right, so I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that's outrageous. I would expect that if it's a business purchase, which an investment property would be considered a business purchase, there's a cost of doing business. And the lower rates are there and in place to be able to help people live in homes,
Right.
not necessarily help people make investments. Otherwise, we'd be getting great margin interest rates on our stock accounts if that was the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fair.
Yes.
I don't think it's outrageous. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there that will disagree with me on that. Especially, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, it could just be temporary, but right now the housing market is still bonkers in most areas of the country. So,
I was reading up on another program out there that was a little bit different. I don't know if you're familiar with this at all. Have you ever heard of a program called NACA, NACA?
No.
It's a very odd program out there that, just like a lot of other programs that I've seen, it's almost like they're trying to get people back into New York. Because we've had the escape from New York mentality for quite some time.
Yes.
I think you were mentioning to me something about yourself. I don't want to. I'll let you bring that news out, but we've been living in this escape from New York mentality for about, let's say, 2 years. I'm not. It's over 2 years, but I'll say 2 years because it took about 2 months for people to firmly grasp what is going on around us. Before before the big flood and the big influx of people rushing out, there was about a month and a half or so of everybody just like their jaws dropped and saying, "What's going on?
Yeah,
what's going on? We're being locked down. We're being quarantined.
Yeah,
Cuomo hates us." De Blasio hates us.
Yeah.
We're being tortured right now. And then we looked around. Like, it's not nice in California either right now.
There's a lot of cities.
And then all of a sudden, everybody started looking south and saying, hey, Florida looks kind of good right now. Texas looks kind of good. The Carolinas, Virginia, these places look pretty good right now.
Yeah.
So you're kind of feeding into that yourself, right?
Yeah, well, my wife and I are going to be relocating out to the Carolinas, or down to the Carolinas, mainly because we just didn't have a need to be here anymore. It's not because we hate Long Island, but I can work from anywhere, right? I'm flexible. I'm licensed in multiple states, and my wife now is told she can work from anywhere due to COVID, right? Working 2 years from home, it's working. So we had the freedom now to go anywhere we wanted. And, with both of us working home, you need more space. We both need an office at home.
Isn't it amazing how this environment and the situation that we had opened your eyes up to different ways of doing business?
Yeah.
Opportunities that were out there, an ability of flexibility that you never would have even considered in the past. You used to work out of an office, correct?
I used to work out of an office.
And you were there, you went in every day, you met with your clients every day, and you've discovered a way to be able to commute. I mean, we always had the phones and we always had, but Zoom, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What's Windows Live, Microsoft Live.
Yeah, anything. Yeah. I mean, your world's a little different than mine. You kind of have to be out there, right? You can't do a virtual open house, although it does happen in some parts of the country.
Yes and no, because I'll tell you what. If it's a vacant home, especially investment properties,
right?
Investment grade properties, knockdowns and stuff like that, easy, super easy.
Right.
I could sell those with my eyes closed, with a virtual situation. Snap a few pictures, we're done.
Yeah. Because
people don't really have to see much.
Right.
If I tell them the thing is a disaster, you have to put in everything, and then some. Right. I get the picture. It's where, if it's a vacant home, especially investment properties, knockdowns and stuff like that, easy, super easy. Right. I could sell those with my eyes closed, with a virtual situation. Snap a few pictures, we're done. If I tell them the thing is a disaster, you have to put in everything, and then some. I get the picture. It's where And we did make a few sales like this during COVID times where people actually never physically came into the place.
Yep.
But it's a tough sell to somebody to grasp the idea of buying the place that they potentially might live in for the rest of their lives and not even walk through it.
Right. And it's not even walking through the house, not knowing what's around the house.
Oh, believe me, we had to do the walking through around the house and neighborhoods.
Neighborhoods, yeah.
I literally put my phone on one of those suction cup things on my windshield wiper, and as I finished walking through the house, I put the phone right on there, and I drove through the neighborhood so they could see where the parks are, where the expressways were, everything like that. So they got to see that part of it, but it's different. You know, there's not. I'm not going to be able to get every single nook and cranny of the place. Yes, they could still bring an inspector in, but this is where it goes different because you're not there with the inspector as they're walking through, and they're not explaining to you everything as they're seeing it. So sometimes when you see stuff written out in a report, it looks a lot scarier than what it is.
Yeah.
You know, a drip that's coming under a faucet inside a kitchen might turn into this major thing that you're not really considering. So we're gonna lose you too.
Well, I'm not going to be lost. Like, I mean,
we're going to lose you. You know.
Well, we could do some virtual stuff. But even before COVID, I would say only about, even going back 3 years before COVID, less than 10% of my clients would want to meet in person. So then going into COVID, 99% of people wanted to do virtual. People are more comfortable with Zoom. So really, if I would say I would not lose any business, even if I moved to Alaska. Because people are just comfortable now, and my world, you don't really need to sit face to face.
It's true. It's true. What are you gonna do? Actually print it out and physically give them the sheet?
I mean, think about it. Quicken grew. None of the banks thought they were going to be a competitor. They're completely virtual, and they became the #1 lender in the world.
Very true.
And they don't see anybody. So
Very true.
I'm offering more service than an internet bank, and so are a lot of local loan officers here. But you know, we can actually go face to face on a Zoom, and
you'll actually physically pick up the phone and call them up and saying we'll have a representative call you, because that's one of my biggest issues with Quicken. It's funny that you mentioned that. I've had every time I get somebody that comes to me with a Quicken loan, not that if you could get the loan from wherever, go ahead. God bless you. Get the loan. The thing that makes me cringe about the Quicken is they say they got it for Quicken. I said, did you try any local guys? That way, maybe you could have somebody to help you. No, this is the best rate or whatever the case is. And usually, it's not the best rate. It's very competitive.
I mean, listen, they're
else.
doing something right. I'm not here to bash Quicken. You know, I'm just using an example how you don't need to have physical brick and mortar.
I'll tell you what the difference is. It's a faceless transaction.
Yeah,
where they do a lot of it online. They don't have to talk to somebody. They can plug in everything online. They can get.
And some people like that. They don't want to talk to a person.
Correct.
I have certain people. I'll come in Monday morning, and over the weekend, there's 2 applications sitting on my desktop. I don't even know who these folks are, but they just went online or found an old Facebook video or something, and they don't even want to work. You know, the whole transaction is through text.
And that works very well.
Yeah.
Up until you get a hiccup. And that happens a lot in our business. It happens every so often. We got these little weird hiccups that happen with the loans. And you have to get somebody that's personally involved to try to make it work out. Maybe something odd came out with the inspection report that needs clarification. Maybe something of that nature. That's where my cringe factor comes in with the Quicken, because they're calling up, trying to get a representative to give them a direct response. And they're going, oh, somebody will be back with you. And then it might take them 2 days to get back to them. And in this world, this is New York, this is real estate.
Yeah.
We don't want answers in 2 days. We want it yesterday.
Yep.
And that's where the customer service part of it really comes in place.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I think you're right, though. I think that model is everybody's model is going to become much more virtual. You're not going to have that situation where everybody needs to meet with the other face to face.
Yeah.
From my part of the business, it will probably be a little bit different.
Right. Because that's a big purchase. People want to go in.
It is a big purchase, but it's all it's all in perspective.
Right.
Because think of it like this: how many people go and make a $5 million, $10 million purchase on the latest IPO that comes out, or something like that?
Yeah.
Do they actually physically go to the business that they're purchasing?
No.
But they're investing a lot of money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is a mindset. I think where the mindset will never change. By the way, thank you for joining us, NYC guy. Um, Great to see you too. Uh, I think that from a personal element of it, I want to make this my home. I want my family to see it.
Mhm.
I want us to feel that feeling, that aura in the place. That's something that won't be
Right.
eliminated through there. So there's going to be the different aspects of the
Yeah.
business that have to be going through that. I do a lot of REOs, that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
oftentimes, and those type of transactions. You don't have to physically be there
Right.
every single time.
Especially if it needs a total makeover, you're just going to make it your way anyway. You know.
Correct. And even in some commercial situations, you don't physically have to be there if you know the
Right.
locations. And that's actually something I've done for years, where people out of state are calling me up for specific specs of what they
Mhm.
need, and we identify the building. Everything's done, and they might not even come until the walkthrough before the closing happens,
Interesting.
and they're seeing it for the first time right
Right,
before the
yeah.
closing. You know,
Mhm.
because they know what they need, they know the dimensions. In some cases, they're going to completely modify the place. They're going to knock down and extend it, or whatever the case is. It's a different world altogether.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a very fun type of environment. It's very fun and very different type of environment.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be fun for everybody for the rest of the year, as far as the roller coaster of the rates and trying to predict. And by the way, everybody that's listening right now, and all you gurus that want to make a prediction of where we're going to be at the end of the year, you're all full of crap. You're not. Everybody that says, "Well, we're going to be at 7% at the end of the year," and you're saying that with with vigor, and you know what you're talking about. We could easily be at 9, 10,
Nobody knows.
or we could be back at 4,
Yeah.
for all we know.
You can go back and look at all the National Association of Realtors, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Zillow, like everyone, they put out a chart at the end of the year. You can go Google it. Nobody projected rates to be where these, and these are the experts that do this for a living. So everyone in the industry was shocked by what happened. But the speed, we all knew it would come up.
Yeah.
It's the speed.
That's exactly where I got shot. I expected exactly where we're at right now, right in this range at the end of the year. That's what I expected. And I thought I was being very conservative with my prediction. And as far as realistically, I think we could get to this
Mhm.
point. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't get to that point. But to get here, what, 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks ago? It's been 2 or 3 weeks since we hit the 5 point.
Oh, it's
It's been 3 weeks,
yeah,
right?
it's about that.
Yeah. March?
Yeah.
We didn't even close out the first quarter. We got there?
I mean, rates have been going up since I want to say the end of July, slowly. That's when it
Slowly.
started.
An eighth,
Yeah.
a quarter of a point. That's where I expected us to. I expected us to go that route. And by the end of the year, we probably flounder on 5-ish,
Mhm.
4.5, 5-ish. That's what I was expecting. When we saw boom, 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 I
Yeah.
was like,
Rapid
"Oh
fire.
boy, we got an interesting situation
Yeah.
right now." You want to hear the funny thing? In certain aspects of the business, didn't miss a beat.
No, I mean, I still see on Facebook every day realtors posting their listing on a Friday. Saturday, they're in front of the open house with the line down the block.
Mm-hmm.
So the demand didn't go away, and it's not going to.
The sub-million, as hot as ever.
Yep.
Well, that has to do a lot with the supply too.
Mhm.
We're still not getting a lot of supply
Right.
coming in. The 5, 10 million and above, business as usual. Those listings don't usually sell overnight anyway.
Mhm.
And usually a lot of the people that purchase it are very liquid, and most of the purchases happen with a heavy amount of cash, if not all cash, on those purchases. Where I saw a specific squeeze, the $1 to $5 million mark, and that's what I've been following right now, because you have a lot of those people that they could afford a $1.5 million house, $2 million house, but they're buying it with a loan and they're getting it with maybe 80%, maybe sometimes even 70% down financing, and the buying power just got reduced.
Oh yeah, I mean, on a loan that size, a 4% could be an extra $400 a month in your payment.
How do you feel? How do you see the rates on the jumbo loans? Do you see them?
They've been going up too. I mean, everything's up.
Explain to me something. Maybe you could actually educate me and maybe the rest of the public. How does a conventional and a jumbo loan correlate as far as how they jump?
So what a lot of people don't know is mortgage rates are derived from the bond market, right? You can call your broker
10-year yield, right?
No, it's actually it's called mortgage-backed securities. So, and the public can't. There's no real public site where you can go look these bonds up. I actually pay a service. It's like $60 a month to have access to real-time bond data and stuff. But it's bonds. So when you close on a loan, it gets sold to, let's say, Fannie and Freddie, and then they sell them into Wall Street.
So it's not based off of the 10-year Treasury bond.
It's
so is that
if you pull up mortgage rates, and the Fed rate and the 10-year. They're kind of flow together, but they're not always the same.
See, that's a public misnomer.
Yeah,
that as well. I thought it was all based off the.
No, and everyone, the minute the Fed raises rates, if I have a loan in process and they chose not to lock in, I get that call saying the Fed's going to raise rates, we need to lock. And then the Fed may raise rates, Wall Street may react a little bit, but lately it's been coming right down a little bit after. So the Fed affects credit cards and home equity lines, not necessarily mortgage rates.
Understood. So you have it's something else that is basically
So another thing that was I started digging into this when COVID hit and started really learning and following some of these analysts, these mortgage bond analysts out there. So what they explained to me was when 30 million people unemployed and every single news channel is telling people to go modify your loan, don't pay your mortgage, don't pay your rent, go into forbearance, Wall Street freaked out. And they didn't want to buy the mortgages anymore, right? If you're an investor and 30 million Americans are told, hey, you don't have to pay a mortgage.
Especially when there's a eviction moratorium in place and
Right.
they're telling you don't have to pay.
Yeah, so if you look at the mortgage rate charts when COVID hit, let's say they were steady, right? And it's hard to see on the radio, but right when COVID hit and this started happening, rates spiked up to almost 6% for a couple of, maybe a week or so there. And that's because nobody wanted to buy them. So the banks had to raise the rates, I guess, to entice Wall Street. Yeah, we'll give you a higher interest rate to take the risk. And then that's when the government had to step in and the government started buying all the mortgages. Okay. And that's what the stimulus was.
So they were buying them at 6%. They were buying it at 6%.
No, they were buying all the loans from the banks and keeping the rates down. They were providing unlimited, we'll take all the risk from you. So what actually happened was, when you hear the Fed saying they're tapering back and cutting their budget or whatever they're calling it, that means they're no longer going to buy these mortgages, and that's what's causing rates to go up.
Wow.
They're going back to Wall Street, basically.
Wow, that's incredible.
And again, that was how it was explained to me, and it makes sense.
Does it feel a little bit like deja vu? A little bit? I hope not.
No, this is a different market.
It is a different market, but there's certain aspects of what we're talking about that does trigger something in my mind.
Nah, this is different because the economy was completely shut down. I mean, that's really what it was.
I mean, we never had something like this,
Yeah.
but I'm just talking about as far as how the Fed is handling the funding of keeping these loans going and giving incentives for them to be purchased.
Well, it wasn't really incentives. They just kept rates down. I mean, you have to keep real estate going. That's what moves the economy, really. Right? I mean, think about it. You buy your home, then you're going to have people fix it. Then there's moving companies, and you need new carpet. Like, there's so much that happens with a real estate transaction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I brought some interesting things here because I know where you're headed with that. But
Thank Mike. NYC guy thanks you. What he's thinking for you exactly, I'm not sure. Maybe he'll give us another comment.
Here it is. So everyone talks about, and again, folks on the radio can't hear see this, but everyone always talks about like what's different between now and 2008. So if you look at this, look at all the subprime loans that were being done back then that led to the crash.
Mm-hmm.
And then There's very few now. 71% of loans now are
Let me just
conventional.
flip that over for the camera so
Yeah.
they could see exactly what we're talking about.
So all
See,
that light
everybody,
blue,
we got really, really high-tech graphics today.
I bring the best, right? So this is basically showing that leading up to that crash, that there was a large percentage of no income check loans that the banks are doing. And now, this is actually from the U.S. Census Bureau. They're showing that 71%, over 71%, are conventional loans now, which now have the strictest underwriting guidelines. As anyone who's tried to get a mortgage knows, it's a hair-pulling experience, lots of paperwork. They check you out, everything but a blood sample. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of the analysts I follow do not feel we're going to be heading into a crash, because number one, it's tighter, much tighter lending guidelines, right? You're not getting a no-income loan with a handshake anymore. And because the market has gone up, I heard some stat that over 40% of Americans have more than $30,000 of equity in their home.
So the sky's not falling.
Well, who's going to walk away from their money? No one had equity then. They were putting zero down. You had nothing to lose. You walk away. When you have $50,000, $60,000 of equity, you're not sending your keys.
You got
to the
skin
bank.
in the game.
Yes. So that's why the folks that I follow, the real guys that follow the market and do this, they are not saying that a crash is coming. You know, we're going to hit a normal market, but there's not going to be a crash. Like, people are waiting, thinking houses are going to go down 60%. The people I listen to are not thinking that's going to happen.
I have a question for you that I get very often coming to me, and I truly don't know how to answer this. I always say everything is possible. Anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people are asking, are we going back to the 80s where we're going to have 12%, 14%, 16% on commercial loans, 18% mortgages? Do you see that happening?
I mean, that hasn't been a normal market. I'm good with my printed charts here, but
are you bold enough to say that will not happen this year?
I mean, look, this is what you're talking about. So there's 1980 rates over 18%.
Anybody that knows the 80s and anybody that took a loan in the 80s, they know this was very, very real back then.
And this is another thing where people are saying, you're buying at the peak right now. But if you look at the two together, all right, I'm supposed to say the source. So this is from HUD. So you'll see there was 8 times where rates went up in history, and this is housing prices still continue to rise. We've had eight major rate increases, if I'm counting my chart here right here, well, maybe 9, since 1980. And home prices continue to rise, even with rates going up.
Well, that's the part and the element of the business that everybody doesn't really grasp. And the people that are savvy of the real estate industry and business and sector understand that this business is not something that goes backwards.
No.
Prices, unless there's outside extraordinary factors, because anything could happen.
COVID.
COVID. Or you get a nuclear reactor that blows up and you destroy a whole region, or whatever the case is. Something like that, yeah. It will affect real estate and it may drop.
Well, let me cut you off because I don't want to lose this thought. Think about this. Would you say in our lifetime COVID was the worst thing to happen? Right? 9/11 was a disaster, the housing, right? But would you say COVID was the biggest impact in our life?
I would have to say, as far affecting our overall lives, or yeah.
And what happened to the market? It went up.
Yeah.
So, like, what would have to happen to bring the market down? You know?
Well, you know what? It's just coming back to terms, because I really believe the market should go back down a little bit.
I think it's going to level out and become normal.
A healthy correction.
Yeah.
Just like any other market, any financial market is necessary to pull back 5-10%. I think that's
right, but not a crash.
That's appropriate. It's appropriate, and then it'll give it enough life to start building up again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, up to 15%, I won't bat an eye. I would not get alerted. Once a market hits 20% and below, as far as a drop off, that's when you start to get a little bit nervous. And I'm not talking about overinflated areas. There's areas that were overinflated just on hype. That's shame on you as the buyer for buying stuff just on hype and speculation. Speculation happens in good markets and bad markets. So if you're overpaying for any reason or another, that's a you problem, not a necessarily market problem. just like in the time of 2008. When we had that crisis, and I want to say that crisis lasted from end of 2008.
About 18 months, I think.
Yeah, I want to say it lasted to about 2011, maybe 2012, where you saw the lingering
We
effects
should take a peek here.
of the real feel, where people were not really ambitious to buy things, and things were just constantly dropping.
So, yeah, it's about 18 months. It looks like on here.
Yeah.
But the other thing there too, when you talk about the crash, is back then there were these lenders doing these negative amortization loans. I luckily never worked for banks that did those, so I don't have
Wanna hear
anything on my
something funny?
shoulder. But yeah, what?
We're at 2022 right now, right? Initial hit was 2008. I still got inventory that's filtering into the market because of those bad loans. After all these years,
But that's what's different now is the folks that have been buying or refinancing in the last even 5 years, the lending standards were so strict. No one's payments shooting up where they're not going to be able to control it, right? Everyone has fixed payments, right? The only thing going up is taxes, right? And they have equity. So I don't feel like there's going to be a slew of people foreclosing. I hear people saying all the time, all the millions of Americans in forbearance are going to go into foreclosure.
it won't happen.
What the banks did was they took that money, most of them, and put it towards the back of the loan. Those people don't have to worry about repaying that until they sell. So it's not like it's going to come due and all these people have to pay all this money back.
What I will say with confidence, and this is from personal real life experience that I'm dealing with. Like I told you, I work with a lot of asset managers and banks, and I'm also doing my research on this as well. There will be an influx of foreclosures. It will not be an avalanche the way people are expecting.
Right.
The first influx, that will be a more than usual amount, will be all the foreclosures and pending liens that were in place prior to COVID
Put on
that
hold,
got
yeah.
hold.
Yep.
That's where you're going to see the influx. These were homes that were meant to be foreclosed on, and not only did they not, they got another 2 to 3 years, if not more. We'll see how long this all lingers, of non-payments happening. So those will hit the market. That's a given. That's a given. But the thing that's different, the banks are a lot more educated and a lot smarter on how they're approaching this. They're not going to flood the market with all their inventory at one time. They're going to piecemeal it. And I see this already. From the asset managers that I talk about, they're being selective. They are looking at the ones that will sell the quickest, putting them on the market first, getting them off their books, going to the next wave and the next wave. And you're not going to see overnight in a specific town 500 new listings going to hit the market that are all in default, that are all considered to be sub market price because of foreclosures. The asset managers and the banks are mindful of what is happening, and they're being very, very careful of how they're going to put that stuff on the market. And a lot of the stuff won't even hit the market. A lot of stuff is going to be sold off in private auctions where they might be sold in portfolio pieces and that kind of thing, which would actually be the best benefit, because what you'll see is investors, developers purchasing these portfolios together, redeveloping them, putting them at a proper market value out there. So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to be very, very different. We did touch on the 80s for a little bit, and we talked about the rates where they were. Something that was very different in the 80s than what it is right now is when the rates were going up, savings account rates and the bank rates were higher as well.
Right.
It was not unheard of to get 6 or 7% from the bank.
Yeah. I was younger back then, but I remember, hearing my grandparents getting CDs for
8%,
16, whatever it was.
6, 7%, 5,
and they'd lock it up for 5 years.
Yeah, that was the whole point of having a CD.
Yeah.
Why would you get a CD now?
Yeah.
No reason.
I love how I see banks advertising on like the Long Island Railroad for get 1% on your savings account.
1%.
Yeah, and they're paying for ad space too.
You tell me the place I could get 1%, because half these banks don't even give you a fraction of 1%. 0.118.
Yeah.
Like, seriously?
Yeah.
You're taking advantage of my money. And they'll tell you if you give us a really, really, really nice deposit, like a $250,000 deposit, $500,000 deposit, we'll give you a bonus $500.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Yeah.
And you got to keep it in here for at least 6 months. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me right
Yeah.
now? Like, that's the element, the part of the way the interest rates are structured that I can't understand. There should be some at least advance on the opposite side as these rates are going, and we don't see that happening.
Yeah, normally the bank savings rate should creep up a little, but I guess there could be some greed or a delay back there, right?
As long as the Fed keep asset purchases and more Fed print, the market will be stable.
But that's what they're cutting back on
Yeah.
now. They're cutting back on the printing, which is why rates are going up.
Does it really matter how much everybody's caught up on the printing of the money? As of when we got off the gold standard, it really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It really doesn't, because right now the dollar is only as much is worth as much as our countries that are doing business with us or surrounding us are valuing it. If they know we're good for it to pay them back, it doesn't matter if we got a $6 trillion deficit. It doesn't matter if we have $100 trillion deficit. If all the countries we do business with say it doesn't matter how much they owe, they're going to pay us back.
Right.
They're good for it.
Right.
That's all that matters. So the actual paper means nothing.
Yeah.
It really does mean nothing at this point. Now, it is concerning as far as the inflation rates and seeing how things keep up, because the cost of living is going up significantly, especially these past 2 years.
Yeah.
And trying to forget about the assets, forget about the homes themselves. All the other elements of life have gone up considerably.
Yep.
And they are trumping inflation, and sometimes 5-6-fold. How are they going to somehow keep that from going on?
That's people with higher pay grade than me got to figure that
that's
out.
that's the thing that I find very, very difficult to be able to stand.
Yeah.
How about institutional taking over of single family homes? I don't think that's a good idea. Anytime I've seen institutional type of situations, anytime I've seen government take over housing, whether it's single family or whether it's multifamily housing, it's never the same quality. And you can take any housing project you like here in New York City. We're in New York City, in New York. They all start off great. If it's a brand new development, it looks beautiful, it's pristine.
And then the lack of maintenance.
And then because of lack of maintenance, because of lack of
Bureaucracy,
because of double spending, because of negligence, these developments are no longer the living standards they want them to be, and they often go subpar. The city is not built to be a landlord in any setting. Institutional, the only time I'd like to see any type of cluster purchasing and taking over properties is if it's by a major developer that has a proven track record of being able to sustain and to keep up a community or a development like that.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of the condo and those type of loans on the new developments?
I mean, it's more popular out of state because there's not a lot of land here where they're putting up developments, right? We do, yeah, absolutely. More out of state, a lot more out of state, like a lot more.
Now that you mention that, what are the states that you work out of? Because Mike, he is not deadlocked here only in New York. He does a lot of business all over the country. What are the states?
So basically, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida, and within a couple of months, I'll be licensed in both Carolinas.
Very nice.
Yeah, but the bank I work for, we're licensed in all 50 states. So I have friends pretty much all over the country, and there's nothing we really can't do. But being in New York, where people are migrating to, is where I focused on getting my licenses. It's a lot. I just had to do over 40 hours of, almost 50 hours of continuing education. Every state, it's a lot. So.
Well, you do have that ability, and the nice thing is that anybody listening or anybody that likes to continue to work with Mike, you have that opportunity to be able to work with him directly in those six states.
Yep.
And what do you do in situations where it's out of your network? Do you help guide the people?
Yeah, I've had.
Hold their hands.
We have
through
over
the process.
I think 4,000 employees now, so we're in every single state. So if someone comes to me and says I want to buy in Nebraska, I have a network, some coworkers that work in Nebraska, and I would work along with them.
So let's do something fun, something that's a little bit different. We know what the values are here in New York. We know what we're paying here to live in a place. The taxes here in Long Island. What's the most affordable place that you feel from your experience?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's pockets all over the country that are like this. Think like Los Angeles, right? It's out of control. Ranches there going for $900,000. And then you have Florida, which is a hot market now. Even places in the Poconos. When we were looking to relocate, we looked at a few different places, and we looked at the Poconos, and there was a realtor who told me there's $1 million houses on the Delaware River. All right, he gets 10 calls a day for these houses. He wouldn't be able to keep them on the books, but there's no good internet there, so no one wanted to buy them.
Really?
So there's demand all over the place. I mean, just the other day, someone called me. They wanted to buy a $70,000 home in Rochester, New York.
You would think with that many $1 million homes across the river, they
put some internet in.
They would have got a tower closer to them.
It's such a few, such a small niche of homes. It wasn't worth running fiber optics. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So I think every state has your high value and low value or lower value. Like I did a loan recently up by Lake George, outskirts of it, not on the lake. It was a 2-family home for $220,000. Beautiful house.
Wow.
It's just where you are.
Wow. But is there ever any time where you are doing a loan and you say, is this real?
Well, around here, yeah.
No, I mean anywhere. Like
a couple of years ago, I had a home on the South Shore in Nassau County.
Yeah.
It was a 2-bedroom, and it sold for $479,000, and the taxes were like $14,000.
Jeez.
Whereas you could plant that home again up in Rochester, or near Lake George, a 2-family for $220,000. That was beautiful. 2 brand new kitchens in there. So it's all about location.
Yeah.
You want to be 15 minutes to Jones Beach or a 40-minute train ride to Manhattan, you're going to pay.
That's exactly.
And that's one of the reasons we're locating. I don't need to do that. I did work in the city, and let me free my house up for someone else that has to commute to the city. I don't have to do that anymore.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. And how do you see the markets going in Florida right now? You mentioned that really briefly.
Florida's nuts. It's like Long Island.
Nonstop, right?
Nonstop, because not only you have international buyers there too.
And do you feel that the continuation of New Yorkers leaving and going to Florida is still on the same pace, or do you feel like it's somewhat dissipated?
I feel like half the people I speak to when they hear I'm moving, the first thing out of their mouth is, "I can't wait for my kids to be done with high school so I can get the heck out of here." The first thing out of their mouth.
Well, I'm going to tell you from a personal point of view. If it wasn't for my children already firmly into the school systems right now, and my business and operations firmly grasping, if I was working as an employee somewhere, or if I was even an 18, 19-year-old kid just starting, I don't think New York would have pulled me in and kept me here.
I don't know. It was a fun place. I mean, I loved growing up here and even, going out. And again, being 40 minutes from New York City, I mean, people travel all over the world to come here. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, we wanted something a little bigger, a little more property, and we didn't want to move all the way to the east end of Long Island. And I'm not paying $30,000 a year in taxes for the same thing I can get elsewhere for $4,000 a year.
Well, that's why I'm thinking that way.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have kept me driven to want to be here.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you're different. Maybe I'm a little selfish, but I don't like giving Uncle Sam most of my money.
Yeah, unless you have to. I mean, I don't have to. If you have to commute and you have 4 kids and you need a 5-bedroom house, you have to do it if you're going to stay here, and this is your means of income.
Between property taxes, between state taxes, if you live in the city, you got city tax.
Mhm.
Between federal tax, between sales tax that we pay,
Mhm.
what's left?
No.
It's not fun.
No.
It's not fun. And then we got to find loopholes. We got to
No.
go through the tax back and then find loopholes. And then
Yeah, and I have people of all walks of life, high wage earning lawyers and doctors that they want to get out of here too. They tell me all the time, and especially a lot of your city work, NYPD, FDNY, sanitation, like those folks, they want out bad.
the funny thing
Once
is,
they get their pension, they out.
the funny thing is, a lot of that could be pulled back if they did something with the way the corporate infrastructure is here, as far as the additional taxation of the corporations. It made it a little friendlier for business to be here. Maybe it would have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it saddens me because New York, personally, New York is my home.
Me
This is
too,
where I
yeah.
grew up. I love New York. And it saddens me that in the current state of affairs, I would leave. I can't leave. I'm stuck. I'm handcuffed. I'm stuck here. I'm not going anywhere right now.
Well, the good news is, in 10 years, your house will be worth a lot more than it is today. So,
Well, I'll also be paying a lot more today too to sustain it. So it is a give and take.
Mhm.
But there has to be some kind of balance, and I think I hope that the politicians, the local officials that are listening here, and they're doing stuff on a daily basis of trying to get a nice balance. Really think it through as far as where they envision New York in 10 years, 15, 20 years from now. Because a lot of the stuff that's been happening right now has been short term and band-aids. And we really need to look at the big picture right now.
you know what?
And maybe they'll do something to pull you back in from the count. I doubt it.
But listen, as many people that are leaving, there's people lined up ready to buy. And that's their next journey in their
That's
life.
exactly it.
You graduate college, you get a good job in the city, for example, you're going to need a house here.
There's-
So the people are lined up every Saturday and Sunday buying up the homes. So anyone that wants to leave, there's 50 people wanting to buy.
That's exactly it. As curmudgeon as I am about it, as unsatisfied as I am at this point, as far as the cost of life here in New York is, I do understand. I'm fully aware there is only one New York.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one New York City. There's only one Manhattan.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we're the financial capital of the world.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we are a true attraction from people from all over the globe to want to come here.
Mm-hmm.
And that will never change.
Never.
And the crime rates could go through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And people will still come here. You go back to the 70s and look at what
Yeah.
was happening.
Yeah.
And the 80s.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was hell on earth, but people
Yeah.
found a way to come here. The
Mhm.
new immigrants, new waves of people. Who knows what's going to happen in the other states going forward?
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to have to step up the cost of living there too in order to sustain. Because right now they're getting a high population. What are they going to do with all the new population?
Yeah.
Florida, I think, had about 500,000 people.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I don't think it's all from New York, but they got a lot from New York.
Yeah.
There was one statistic that came in that there were roughly around 800,000 transplants from New York to go out of the state, and they estimated roughly about 500,000 of those 800,000 will not be returned.
Yeah.
We lost the electoral vote over this. That's how big. That's
It's a
how
lot of
big.
change, yeah.
That's how big of a wave it was.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit different, and maybe it's a good slap to the face for our locals to see how they can improve things. But it's also going to be something for the people leaving out of state in the other states to start to understand. We got a lot more people. How are we going to be able to
Yeah.
sustain this?
Well, these builders are developing. I mean, there's still a shortage of housing out there.
Well, it's not even a question about the housing. They could find, they got the land to be
Yeah.
able to supply to get the housing in there. And if they need to start busting out those modular houses
Mhm.
and start to hit them hard, they could do it. No problem.
Mhm.
When there's a will, when there's a way, and where there's money sitting at the end, people will find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Once that's done, though, how do they sustain? That's the thing that concerns me more than anything else. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be the big national picture and the big aftermath of COVID is not going to be determined this year.
No.
It's not going to be determined next year. It's going to be determined probably over the next decade.
Right.
And we're going to start seeing the real effects of the bad. And we're also going to see the mental effects that it's had as well. And it's not without any joking, because I'm sure that the impact from the traumatic experience of everybody being afraid of a global pandemic,
Locked up in their homes.
locked up at homes, being forced to take shots, not forced to take shots. You're gonna die. You're not gonna die.
Yeah.
Like having all that in place, it's been traumatic, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of studies that are going to mentally affect everybody. I'll tell you something: the kids that have grown up and had their first couple of years of school under this is all they know right now.
Yeah.
So it's a very strange experience for them.
Yeah.
I got a 7-year-old, and a couple of years ago, when she first started going back into school, she was petrified of where to wear and not wear a mask and that kind of thing. Like she didn't know what was acceptable, not acceptable.
Right.
Asking permission. What 5-6-year-old is asking permission to run or to wear a mask and stuff like that? It's a different situation.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll all get through it. You know,
Absolutely.
I do believe in New York tough. You know, we got past 9/11. I think that was probably you asked me a question before, as far as what was probably the most traumatic
In our lifetime.
in our lifetime. I think 9/11 might have been. I mean, it was as lengthy.
That's what I meant, like lengthwise, like an extended period of tragicness, I guess.
But we did see the after effects of 9/11, especially if you lived in the city. I did live in the city.
Yeah, I worked on Wall Street the day it happened. I was there.
So there was extended periods. I mean, the Patriot Act. We got a lot of stuff that were effects of that we're still actually dealing with today.
Oh yeah,
With a
lot of sick people out there, and
every time you see a package that's in the corner of a subway, you say, "What's going on?"
Getting on airplanes. I mean, it's all still lasting.
Yeah, you got a few of these things happening. So, yeah, I think that would be the closest thing. You know?
Yep.
What about you, Trevor? You got anything that traumatized you more than this past 2 years? No? This was it?
9/11 is the only one that really scares me.
Yeah.
That's what I would think, too. 9/11.
That's why I brought it up. It's that and this is probably,
No? That and, New York State raising taxes. That always traumatizes me. But tell me, what else you got there? You have anything else in your sheets? I don't want to neglect anything.
No,
before the
I
end
mean,
of the show.
we talked about a lot of the stuff I brought here. That's it.
Let's just make sure we take out the disclosure.
Yeah, let's get
Again,
this
because
on.
we're getting to the close end. I don't want to leave it for the end.
For
so
my
I get cut
compliance
off.
department.
Let's
There you go.
comply. Let's comply. All right. Zoom in on everything, everybody. You could got that. We're done. That's it. We're compliant.
Awesome.
We filled our quota for New York State. Is it only New York State or is it federal as well?
This is federal, I'm sure.
All right. So we filled out Mike's New York State and his federal type of thing. Tell everybody how to be able to reach you.
You can go to my website. It's or look me up on Facebook or social media. It's www.movement, like moving your hand, movement.com/Mike.Natter.
Movement.com/Mike.Natter.
And happy to talk to anyone and speak to anyone and help you in multiple states.
You don't want to give everybody your personal number on the air and have them call you up at all strange times?
It's on the website.
Like they called me to 12 o'clock at midnight. Oh, I didn't realize what time it was. Do you get those calls?
I like the one at 7 o'clock Sunday morning. I'm sorry to bother you. Well, you are.
This better be important. Why are you bothering
We're
me?
kind of out of time, but the one thing that always got me is somewhere along the line, our industry got to the point where folks thought we have to be on their beck and call 24/7 like an urgent care. And I don't know why it got so out of control.
Well, you know what? that got really out of control in my part of the business, and that has not changed.
Yeah.
It actually got amplified.
Yeah.
People got a little bit more demanding. Our commission rates haven't gone up though,
To
even
meet
though
the
they were
demand, yeah.
they were quiet. I think that's well due, but that hasn't happened. But they're expecting a lot more time out of us and a lot more efforts out of us, and it's very very strange. So if anybody's listening out there, you want to take advantage of a broker or agent at this time, this might be your best bet because I guarantee you the rates are going to go up within the commission. If this continues, they're going to go up soon.
Yeah.
But looks like we're out of time. I thank you, Mike, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You have a open door here anytime you like to come in. Have a great Passover. Have a happy Easter.
Yes.
To everybody out there, whatever you're celebrating. We won't be live on the radio next week, but we will be live on a stream next week as well. Have a great week. Make lots of money in real estate. Call Mike to get a mortgage. Hey, you want to call me to sell a house? I'll do that for you too. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon. Have a good week.
Good night, everyone.
I'll be with you again next week on Monday, just like every Monday on the Real Estate Plate, 6 to 7 p.m. Thank you.